Waves of water are already washing over parking lots in the greater New Orleans area. Some of the first signs of the approach of very powerful Hurricane Katrina.
And the heavy rain and the potential power outages will cause impacts to travel far inland. Find out how far.
And deep into the night, cars crept away from the coast. The time to head to safety is shrinking. The storm's landfall is getting ever closer. Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Kim Perez.
And I'm Nick Walker. We are in storm alert with the latest on a potentially devastating hurricane whose effects could reach a large part of the eastern United States.
And the latest advisory has winds of 150 miles per hour around that center. Now, since yesterday, of course, this has weakened some, but it's still a Category 4 hurricane capable of causing extreme damage. It is moving north at 15. The forward speed has picked up a little bit as anticipated, and now it's on a more northerly track. The pressure has come up to 917 millibars, but to keep it in perspective, Andrew's pressure was 922 as it came ashore here in South Florida. The projected path takes it towards the north, making landfall, here in the next hour or so, and then moves it northward and then more northeastward with time in advance of an approaching trough in the upper levels of the atmosphere. And that's going to mean power outages, maybe as far north as into Tennessee, and heavy rain into the Ohio Valley.
Well, Jeff Morrow has been covering the approach of Katrina in New Orleans. He's now moved to Covington on the north side of Lake Pontchartrain. Jeff, what are you seeing right now?
All right, guys. Yeah, we just got up a little while ago to start to set up for our live shots here. What we're looking at is a lot of wind starting to come around to the northeast and really starting to blow fairly hard. The power is out, at least at our hotel, and we're seeing a lot of transformers, flashes on the horizon. So indication that we're getting a lot of, different transformers blowing out. We're getting some pretty good gusts of wind here right now, and it's going to be interesting trying to set things up. Like nobody out on the roadways at all at the present time. Let's get back to you guys.
And Jeff, of course, obviously you need to be in a safe place and stay in a safe place. Often we have to talk to you on the phone like we're doing right now as a result of gusty winds that could blow equipment around. Do you feel like you are in a safe place where you'll be able to broadcast for a little while? Yeah,
I think so. We pre-scouted this last night. We're actually in a little bit of a shopping area, and I think we'll be able to shelter everybody fairly well here. This is a pretty substantial structure, but still there's enough around here that you got to be real careful. Debris is going to start to fly into the air, I'm sure, within the next few hours, which could really cause some major problems. So we only expect to go downhill here, or weather-wise, probably for the next 3, 4, 5 hours until we can get the eye past us.
And we do hope you'll stay safe. Jeff Morrow reporting live from Covington, Louisiana this morning.
All right, now it's time to take a look at some of the travel conditions. Jen Carfagna, I believe, is joining us now to talk about some airport problems.
Airport problems, no doubt, will be problems here for the next 24 to 48 hours.
Just want to run down the list of airport closures today. We're, of course, going to have delays and cancellations at other airports, but there are a number of airports that are closed, and certainly this list could be expanded to some of the other regional airports farther north as Katrina continues to move inland and then northward. New Orleans, it is closed. There is no reopen time set. The Gulfport Biloxi Airport is closed at least until tomorrow morning. Mobile, both airports, they're closed and no reopen time. And at the Valparaiso Airport in Florida, it is closed until tomorrow morning. I'll have more on your travel conditions, both at the airports as well as on the roads. That's coming up in about 10 minutes. Right now, Kim has more on Katrina.
And Jen, we'll start with the bottom line first of all, because I know a lot of you have tuned in and said, you know what, it's weakening. Maybe it's not going to be as bad, but it is still a very intense hurricane, a Category 4 on the Saffir-Simpson scale, and of course is capable of producing extreme damage, and of course the chance for tornadoes and storm surge is going to be pretty impressive here on that east side. Landfall is imminent here in southeastern Louisiana. Impacts, again, as we've been talking about, you'll feel them farther north in the next couple of days into the Ohio Valley even, and there could be power outages all the way up into Tennessee. Here it is on radar. Notice the track now making that northerly turn now, and there's Venice, and we've had reports over here in Boothville of sustained winds over 50 miles per hour. New Orleans at Lakefront, we had a wind gust over 90 miles per hour already. And of course, conditions going down rapidly in this area. And as Jeff talked about, power outages already across the region. Now, our satellite showing the west side not as impressive anymore. Some dry air trying to come in, but still, again, a Category 4 hurricane with a pressure of 917 millibars. And we are going to see structural damage with this. Here's the greatest threat for it here in the red. And then where you see the light yellow, that's indicating where we see some structural damage, as this will maintain a hurricane strength even inland. And hurricane force winds extending out over 100 miles from this, so not feeling the impacts just at the coast. Even tropical storm winds over 200 miles from the center. There's that tornado watch in effect. Again, and with any landfalling system, we watch out for this threat. Watch out in Birmingham, maybe in Atlanta later on. Nick?
Harrison County under a tornado warning at this hour. We'll continue to follow the progress of Katrina as it makes landfall. Tornado warnings and tornadoes often a byproduct of landfalling hurricanes, especially those this powerful. You need to take shelter immediately around Harrison County this morning. We'll have more on Katrina as Storm Alert continues on the Weather Channel.
Here's the very latest on Hurricane Katrina, still a Category 4 hurricane, a very, very powerful hurricane. Tornado watch in effect where you see the red, that's an outline tornado watch. And of course, with any landfalling system, we have to be concerned with this. We have tornado warnings up now in Hancock County in Mississippi, as well as Harrison County, where you see the red filled in. That does include, looks like, Biloxi and Gulfport this morning. As a matter of fact, we have Jim Cantori on the telephone here in Gulfport.
That's right. As Storm Alert coverage continues here on the Weather Channel. Jim Cantori, one of the many folks we have out covering this storm as Katrina approaches along the Mississippi coast. Right. He joins us now on the phone from Gulfport. And Jim, what are you seeing right now?
Well, Tim and Nick, of course, it's still dark outside, and I guess the good thing is we have lights out there, so people have power. It appears as I kind of look off the distance. A lot of the big, tall water oaks that are standing are still standing, so that's good. But again, we have not gotten into even a quarter of this thing yet. So, we got a long way to go. Heavy rain, definitely prepare on losing power this morning. And of course, those tornado warnings don't help either. It just leaves everybody uneasy. But you can hear the wind just kind of swirling through, and even around this building here. We're at the Armed Forces retirement home here in Gulfport, Mississippi, and this place is really, really built well, so we felt pretty comfortable, even though we're only a half mile from the beach. As long as we can, we're going to try and give you some shots this morning and show you this thing coming in. But certainly, we got to deal with safety issues, and if the winds are too strong, you can't even broadcast anyway. So we'll keep you posted here. So far, so good. But obviously, we have a long way to go here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Back to you.
All right, Jim Cantori, thank you very much reporting from Gulfport. Folks there, remember, of course, Hurricane Camille, and hopefully the memory's still fresh enough that they're hunkered down to safety.
That's right, and Jen Carfagna is joining us now to talk about travel conditions. And Jen, I'm sure once this is all over with, folks are going to get together and talk about some very interesting travel stories they've had with this hurricane.
It's going to be amazing, I think, what folks went to evacuate and to get to someplace safe. There's a couple in New Orleans that paid a cab driver $1,000 to drive them to the Atlanta airport so that they could get out to where they needed to be. So there's certainly going to be stories like this. Folks have done their best to get out of town and to get to where they need to go to be safe. And now this morning, there is no travel in and around southeastern Louisiana and southern Mississippi and even southwestern Alabama. I want to talk about here travel conditions at the airports, and we'll get to the roads as well. Of course, a number of airports closed, New Orleans International and the lakefront as well, Gulfport, Biloxi Airport and the Mobile Airport, both airports in the region. Now, as we head through tonight, Louisville, we're going to expect some delays, and we may see a few cancellations late tonight into tomorrow. That's when we watch conditions go downhill there. Memphis, it's throughout today. You could see possibly delays and cancellations. The winds will be gusty. You will see rain bands here. And same story in Atlanta. Best advice in all of these airports is to fly early today. Get on that early flight, get in or out of town so that you don't have to deal with the weather. Let's talk about the roads out there as well. And folks, yesterday here trying to evacuate. These are scenes on the interstates heading towards Baton Rouge. Just a sea, just a river of headlights here, and you can see traffic was not moving very quickly at times. There were times when traffic did get going, and I think this is a good sign that we saw so much out there with folks on the roads. The cars were out there. Let's talk about what we have in the forecast. I want to show you our forecast. Of course, flooding is going to be a concern, and we talked about the tornado warnings, but we also have a flash flood warning for the New Orleans area. Nobody's out there driving, so I'm not concerned about people on the roads as of yet, but it's the days to come where we are still going to be dealing with water on the roads in this area. I-55 today through the afternoon, watching for the rain to continue to move northward, and already have seen some reports of rain around Jackson, and we're going to see the rain eventually move into Tennessee. And for folks heading on Interstate 40 here into North Carolina, we are going to continue to watch the rain bands in parts of Tennessee. Now we have the latest on, I believe, the weekend forecast.
Jen, thank you very much. We're continuing to monitor, of course, the progress of Katrina. And we have Mike Seidel reporting now.
Yeah, Mike's joining us from Mobile, Alabama. Good morning, Mike. Do you still have power where you are? I know Jim said they have power over in Gulfport.
Yes, we do still have power here. Looking outside, the power is on everywhere. Of course, we're just barely into the fringe effects of Hurricane Katrina. By the way, we just heard there's a tornado warning now for Baldwin County. That's one of two counties along coastal Alabama. That's till 5:15. And all of Mobile County is under a flash flood warning until 8 o'clock this morning. So we've got some weather issues in the short term, and in the long term, more rain, stronger winds, and we probably will have some power outages.
All right, thanks, Mike, and we're going to be checking back with you, hopefully getting a live shot coming up. We'll be right back.
Keep it right here for more.
The Weather Channel, bringing weather to life.
High winds batter signs and trees in the New Orleans suburbs as the strength of Katrina makes its move into the Gulf Coast.
Hey, good morning from Gulfport, Mississippi here, where we continue to see the winds pick up. We've even been under a tornado warning at times. You can see the winds definitely blowing these oak leaves around. A few branches down, but we still got power right now. We'll give you a live report here coming up from Gulfport.
Hey, good morning, Jim. We still got power here in Mobile, Alabama as the wind and rain picks up ahead of Hurricane Katrina.
And huge lines of people attempt to seek shelter in the New Orleans Superdome. These are the ones who could not manage to leave a city that could be flooded by the approaching hurricane. And good morning, everyone. I think it's more of a reality now about the flooding. We have some reports south of the tidal lakes of 3 to 10 inches of rainfall. That's been unconfirmed, but it's Doppler estimates.
And obviously more still yet to fall, a lot more. The Weather Channel is in storm alert for the latest on a hurricane of historic proportions.
Let's go ahead and give you now the latest advisory where we have right now the winds of 150 miles per hour around the center, and hurricane force winds are extending out over 100 miles. Tropical storm force winds over 200 miles from the center. It's moving north at 15, so it's picked up in forward speed. The pressure is 917 millibars. Again, that northern eye wall now coming ashore.
Now, we're of course watching the progress of this, and the projected path does take it northward. There's going to be a lot more rain out of this, so flooding is going to be a problem throughout to the day and into tonight, all the way up into Mississippi, Tennessee, and eventually into the Ohio Valley.
And Grand Island, we just got a report 114 mile per hour winds now with that eye wall.
Obviously, we are into what will be the crunch period for the Gulf region.
That's right. Now we have live team coverage as Hurricane Katrina batters the Gulf. Meteorologist Jim Cantori is in Gulfport, Mississippi, and meteorologist Mike Seidel is live in Mobile, Alabama.
Now, Jim, how bad are the conditions where you are right now?
Well, Nick, I'm going to say winds right now are easily gusting over 40 miles an hour. I'm just going to have my cameraman pan around. You can kind of see off a little away from where we are near the building here, perhaps a little protected. But certainly, you know, occasionally a little branch will just kind of fly across the parking lot. We'll see a little blue flash off in the distance. So power outages definitely a possibility here. The winds are, I mean, just torrential rains. You guys have been mentioning the rainfall this morning. It is just pounding rain here right now. I mean, just a complete dump of rain. We did have a gentleman go down and did shoot some video for us this morning, and he said he didn't get close to the water, so we can't tell if the water's coming up at this point, but I would imagine it is, obviously, because we're going to be on the right side of that hurricane. All right, we're going to be on the worst side of that, so we are going to get a surge component in through here. And folks, you know what? Just because it's not 175 or 160, it's still 150 miles an hour. Okay, that's the hurricane we're dealing with here. This is a tremendously strong hurricane here, and we have not dealt, I want to let everybody know this, a fraction of this hurricane. There will be a time this morning where we will not be able to broadcast, all right? And obviously, when that time comes, you're going to know about it because we won't be on the air anymore. But we will let you know what's going on out here, hopefully by phone, as long as we can. But right now, obviously, we're not doing too bad. But occasionally, we will see a gust come along, perhaps even greater than 40 miles an hour. Certainly, we anticipate that to be in a big, big hurry before the afternoon or the morning is out. So this thing's going to come in, looks like during the daylight hours, guys. And hopefully, we can show you the pictures of just how incredible a Category 4 hurricane is. But more than likely, when it gets that bad, we won't be able to do that. Let's head off toward the east. Mike Seidel is in Mobile. Mike, you dealt with some bands last night, heavy rain, even some tornado warnings for that area. How are things going in Mobile this morning?
Hey, Jim, good morning. We've got a tornado warning right now. The next county over to our east, that's Baldwin County, one of the two coastal counties, Baldwin and Mobile. Baldwin under a tornado warning until 15 after the hour, about another 10 minutes. And here in Mobile County, we're under a flash flood warning until 8 o'clock this morning. Already Doppler estimates of 2 to 3 inches of rain. It's raining moderately hard right now, and the wind's running about 20 to 25 miles an hour. Our peak gust so far is up there at 45, 46 miles an hour between the airport here and the airport downtown. We are safe from any surge issues. We're well away from the Mobile River and Mobile Bay. But again, we are far from the worst of the storm. Our power flickered a few minutes ago. It's still on. We'll see how long that lasts. And obviously, the weather is going to go downhill all across southern Alabama and the western Florida panhandle over the next 6-7 hours. Kim and Nick will hunker down and, as Jim said, try to broadcast as long as possible.
And Mike, we want to let you know, too, we just got word that northern Mobile County now under a tornado warning, so be careful, okay? All right, we'll check back with you.
Okay, that's just north of here.
All right, let's go ahead and show you what it looks like on satellite, where that northern eye wall coming in, and there's Grand Isle. That's sustained winds of 61 miles per hour, again with the wind gusts 114, 115 miles per hour. The east side, again, is where we're going to see the most damage from this. Here it is on radar, and you can see where the heavy rain, where you see the oranges and yellows. And again, some reports south of New Orleans around the tidal lakes of 3 to 10 inches of rainfall already. As a matter of fact, at Lakefront, we had over an inch and a half almost in an hour here. So flooding a huge concern with this, and of course that threat will be even farther north. Now there's that tornado watch in effect till noon, and here it is by this evening, causing all kinds of problems here into Mississippi. Nick?
And our continuing coverage of Hurricane Katrina does continue all morning long here on the Weather Channel as we remain in storm alert.
I'm Jeff Morrow in Covington, Louisiana. Yeah, we're starting to feel the effects of Katrina for sure. Power flashes on the horizon. We've lost power in this area. We'll give you a live update here in just a moment, talk about the driving rain and how bad we think it's going to get. Stay tuned here to the Weather Channel.
The very latest on very powerful Hurricane Katrina. Winds right now 150 miles per hour around the center. It is moving north now and has picked up in forward speed to 15 miles per hour. The pressure has come up through the morning, 917 millibars. But again, don't let your guard down. Andrew came through South Florida with a pressure of 922 millibars.
Yeah, Katrina has weakened slightly overnight to a very strong Category 4 hurricane, but just a very small difference between this strong Category 4 and a Category 5. Landfall is imminent in southeastern Louisiana. The impacts will spread north ahead of the center. We've already seen hurricane-force wind gusts and heavy downpours of rain.
And earlier we've had reports from Mike Seidel and Jim Cantori, but now Jeff Morrow is joining us from Covington, Louisiana.
And Jeff, how are things holding up there where you are?
Well, the wind's been, it's been fairly steady. I wouldn't call it tropical storm force, maybe a few gusts up to about 40 miles an hour or so, 30 to 40 miles an hour. So we really haven't seen much in the way of any debris flying, but obviously as this hurricane continues to move north and continues to come inland and pass us, and we think that will probably, the eye of the hurricane right now will probably go by just to our east. We'll be on the western eye wall. Things will get obviously a lot worse with a very strong northerly wind. That kind of northerly wind is just going to blow right across Lake Pontchartrain. Right now the winds with a hurricane are pushing generally from the east, and that is piling water from the Gulf of Mexico into Lake Pontchartrain. You can see these spiral bands of moisture, and you can just imagine the wind kind of spiraling around the hurricane as well. Very heavy downpours. We've had some pretty steady, I'd call it moderate rain here so far, kind of blowing sideways in these gusts. But again, as the hurricane passes and the wind turns to the north, that's when Pontchartrain could get blown to the south and, well, maybe impact the levee system there. Let's hope it doesn't breach it and push that water down into the New Orleans area. That's what people there are most concerned about, of course. New Orleans had a very rough night last night. We've lost power here. In some areas, our hotel, we got up, it was still on, but as soon as we walked into the lobby, out went the lights, and that's probably going to be it for the rest of the afternoon. As we got here, we've seen power flashes, the transformers popping. You see that little blue glow, and then it kind of fades away, and you know more power is gone. So obviously, in these kind of winds, we're already seeing that it's going to get worse before it gets better. It's going to be a while before we get power, and we got a lot of trees around us here. You'll be able to see that when the sun comes up, and that's something we're going to have to watch out for very closely as well. Again, we're in Covington. We're right along Interstate 12. We're north of Lake Pontchartrain, and we'll keep you updated here as we head on through the rest of the afternoon as long as we can physically keep the shot up. Because obviously when it gets bad, we may have to come down. Let's get back to you guys now. Kim and Nick.
All right, thanks, Jeff. And you know, we're concerned about folks even farther north with power outages today.
No doubt about that. There have been, of course, road closures due to heavy rain falling and evacuation procedures. Some roads remain open, though, at this hour.
And if folks might be interested in I-10, of course, I-10 westbound at the Louisiana state line is closed and no one should be traveling there.
Right.
But I-10, the bridge over the Escambia Bay around Pensacola, checked on that, and it is still open. Last night, traffic was very heavy with folks heading eastbound. This morning, as you make your way out there, we are dealing with tropical storm force wind gusts, and we are also dealing with some rain bands coming through that region. I want to take you to the airports and show you what we have in terms of airport closures. Both airports in New Orleans, the International and the Lakefront, are closed. There is no reopen time set as of yet. Gulfport, Biloxi closed. Mobile airports there closed as well. Travelers, let's get a look at conditions throughout the region. Jackson, Mississippi, Birmingham, Nashville, all airports we need to watch for as conditions go downhill. In Nashville, especially as we go through the day into tomorrow. And showing you right now what we have going on SkyTracker radar in terms of the extent of where we're seeing the rainfall here. I want to show you I-10 and talk about the rain well to around Baton Rouge and well to the west of there, and then all the way to the east, heading over into the Pensacola area. Here's some rain bands stretching that far, and as far north as Jackson, where we are getting some showers, and I-20. And I-20 is going to be a tough go of it from Jackson over to Tuscaloosa and Birmingham today. All right, the forecast for today, I-55 and I-65, and in between the two, watching for the potential of flooding as we continue to watch the track of Katrina heading northward, the rain heading northward, and rainfall on the order of 2 to 3 inches in farther north areas, and then even farther south, we'll see 10 to 15 inches of rainfall. So flooding is a possibility. 2 to 3 inches per hour of flooding around Birmingham would cause some flash flooding. Kim and Nick, back to you.
Hurricane Katrina making landfall in southeastern Louisiana.
Just east of the Grand Isle area, where we've seen wind gusts up to 114 miles an hour. Waves obviously running high. Ahead, more on all the impacts. History in the making this morning as Hurricane Katrina is making landfall on the coast of Louisiana.
And Dr. Steve Lyons, our hurricane expert, is on board now to talk about its impacts this morning. Good morning, Steve.
Morning, Kim, and we're looking at a landfall in southeastern Louisiana. Almost, not quite. The eye wall is over extreme southeastern Louisiana near Port Sulphur and Venice. The eye is still just offshore right there. You see it. It's going to come onshore within about 15 or 20 minutes, maybe a half hour or so. Now, here's New Orleans here. We expect the eye to move to the east of New Orleans. The closest approach to the northwestern portion of the eye wall will be about 3 hours from now. This is about 60 miles. The northern eye wall here is about 45 miles from New Orleans, and it's moving at 15 miles per hour. So about 3 hours, you're going to get your worst conditions, and the strongest winds will probably be in southeastern Louisiana. You're going to be closest to the eye wall there. That's the time when the surge potential is probably going to be the highest as well, and when your winds are going to be the best and the strongest, and the damage is going to be the greatest. Now, the system is going to move continually to the north in about 4 to 6 hours. Is going to be the worst conditions up in Mississippi, and that's when these eastern portion of the eye wall is going to come slamming into the coastline. Now, right now we have some conditions along the coast that indicate that the surge is already 8 feet at Waveland, Mississippi. That's the highest report we have right now, a surge of 8 feet, and it's nowhere near the eye wall, so we expect that to really increase as that comes up over the next 3 to 5 hours. So don't stay in the low-lying areas very long. If you're already down there, you know it's very bad. Now, we have a storm total precipitation you can see here, already exceeding 6 inches in southeastern Louisiana, and so we're going to expect that to encroach on New Orleans, and the potential for flooding along the coastline and inland is going to increase the next 2 to 3 hours. We could see street flooding in New Orleans. The pumps are probably running to try to keep that water off the streets, but the water's going to rise because the rainfall rates are probably 2 to 3 inches per hour there. Notice also there's a rather wide swath of rain over Florida and heading into Georgia, so the overall larger circulation is producing rain well away from the center, the core of circulation. Now, here's our projected water rises associated with the surge. We've already seen 8 feet there, and it's nowhere near the eye wall. 16 to 22 feet locally where that eye wall comes on shore, and it looks like it may be that coastal Mississippi may get the worst surge of all because the eye is going to be to the east of New Orleans. We'll have to see if any of that water tops the levee system. It's too early to tell that yet, but the center of circulation will move to the east of downtown New Orleans. In the meantime, surge will spread off to the east a little bit as well because the circulation is large. Then over here we have large waves that have been producing 2 to 3 foot water rises along the coast as well. So that's going to continue, and that will rise as the system makes landfall and the southerly winds come in. The wave action will come up to 25 to 35 feet along the extreme eastern portions of the Florida Panhandle, western portions of Florida Panhandle, eastern portions of the Alabama coastline, and a little bit lower, a little bit farther to the east in the Panhandle. So these are the highest waves out here. These waves are breaking well offshore here. These are going to be on the beach and causing significant beach erosion the next 12 hours. Now, as the system moves inland, the greatest impact for direct impact to structures, trees falling down, power out, lines falling down, roofs blowing off of buildings, is going to be in this red area here that includes southeastern Louisiana primarily, including the New Orleans area, and that's primarily southeastern portions of New Orleans. Gulfport, Biloxi is also in that, and of course down here in extreme southern Louisiana, they're going to get probably the worst condition of all. As the system moves to the north, it may weaken slightly, but it's still a very strong Category 4 hurricane, and those strong winds are going to spread inland over the next 24 hours. We could have some significant direct structure damage well inland into Louisiana, Mississippi, and portions of Alabama as well. Power outages, we've already seen a large number of those power outages. Those are going to extend inland, and those outages are going to be severe. You're not going to get your power outages back very quickly. So hunker down. The worst is yet to come. Back to you in the studio.
All right, thank you, Dr. Steve Lyons, our hurricane expert.
We continue our coverage of Hurricane Katrina with hurricane force wind gusts now into southern Louisiana.